If you tend to skip studying, writing your papers, reading, taking notes because you think that it takes way too long, then this is a video that you're going to want to watch, because my name is Clarissa and I am the life coach for college students, and I'm going to tell you exactly what to do when studying is taking too long. So when I work with college students, specifically college women, one of the things that comes up all of the time when they are dealing with procrastination around studying, around taking notes, around anything that has to do with their academics, one of the things that I hear them say often is that the reason why they procrastinate is because they feel like it takes them too long to read, or it takes them too long to write notes, or it takes them too long to get the material, it takes them too long to learn the material. And the way that I approach this problem with college women is I ask them, according to who? What are we using to gauge what is too long? What do you mean when you say that? How do you know that it's taking you too long? How long did you think that it was going to take? The reason why I ask this question is because I don't know why it's a problem that it takes however long it takes for you to read and write notes for your upcoming exam. I don't know why it's a problem that it takes you a couple hours, a couple days, a week or two to write a paper. Why does it matter how long it's taking you to study, learn, and take notes for the material? This is really important for you to answer, because whatever comes after that question is the reason why you're procrastinating. And whatever comes after that question is what's going to help you to solve this problem if it's actually a problem. The way that I want you to think about this is, are you being tested on how long it takes you to read and to take notes? Are you being graded on how quickly you're able to disseminate the information, understand the information, make sense of the information? Are you being graded on the number of hours that it took you to get through a homework problem set? Are you being graded on how long it took you to write the paper? Or are you being graded on how well you understood the material, how well you were able to demonstrate your understanding of it, how well you were able to articulate your ideas and your points, what you're able to do with the information? Why is it a problem that it takes how long it takes? Is it because you ran out of time? You allotted for a certain amount of time and you went over that time? If that's the case, why is that a problem? Did it mean that you had less time to work on another assignment? Did it mean that you couldn't hand it in on time? These questions are what is going to help you to figure out what to do when you feel like it's taking you too long. But again, it's taking me too long is just your perception of what is happening. It's just your interpretation of what is happening. It's just your opinion of what is happening. And what are you using to gauge that? And what are you making it mean that it took you 2 hours? What are you making it mean that it takes you a week to write a paper? What are you making it mean that it takes you an hour and a half to get through 10 problem sets for your chemistry class? What are you making it mean? Why does how long it takes you matter? Why is it such a big deal? When you don't understand why you're making it a big deal, it becomes really difficult for you to move past that reasoning. If you make it a problem in your head, your brain is going to see the amount of time that it takes you to read your textbooks as an obstacle, as a threat, as something that requires way too much effort and isn't worth it. And what I want to offer to you tonight is this idea of, what if it's not a problem? What if the amount of time that it takes you to read an assignment, to get through a problem set, doesn't matter? What if that has nothing to do with your ability to succeed in this course? Now, it's important to keep in mind if it actually is a problem. And the way that you determine whether it's actually a problem is if the amount of time that it's taking you to get through the material or to do whatever it is that you need to do for the class is affecting the grade that you're getting. So what I mean by that is you are not getting through the material before you have to sit down and actually take the exam, or you don't have enough time to really articulate your ideas and to write out this paper and to do the editing and to do whatever is necessary to meet the rubric requirements. If you're not having enough time to get through all 10 problems, then that's when it becomes a problem. And even then, it's not actually a problem. Because what you want to be doing when you are interpreting or making it mean that it's taking too long is you want to be assessing what the actual problem is when it takes you longer than you thought. Because that's what's actually happening here. In your mind, you made a guess of how long you thought this was going to take you. In your mind, you decided how long you wanted to spend on it. And when it required more time, what did you make it mean? Did you make it mean that you're not smart enough? Did you make it mean that you don't have enough time? Did you make it mean that it's impossible to get this done? What is the actual problem here with things taking however long that it takes? If it's a problem because it's affecting your grade, then we want to solve for that problem. So if you're not giving yourself enough time to get through the material, instead of berating and beating yourself up and thinking that it's a problem that it's taking you too long, why don't you use that data and that information to better plan for the next exam? If you realize that even though in your mind you thought that it takes you 2 hours to read and write notes, but in the actual, I'm sweating, y'all, because again, I'm in my sunroom and it's hot and we don't have an AC in here. So again, if you realize that the reason why it's a problem is because it's affecting your grade because you're not giving yourself enough time, and in your mind you initially thought, I'm going to give myself 2 hours to get through this, and it actually takes you every time 3 hours, why don't you adjust for that? Why don't you plan for that? Why don't you make that your norm so that when you're looking at your calendar every single week and deciding when you're going to read and take notes for this class, instead of trying to force yourself into the 2 hours because of whatever story you're telling yourself about how long things should take, why don't you honor how long it actually takes you? Why don't you give yourself the time it actually takes you? Why don't you just schedule the 3 hours so that you have enough time to get it done? Because if you plan for the 3 hours ahead of time, now you can plan the rest of your schedule around that, which means that you're going to make sure that you have the time and the space to get everything else done in your life because you plan for it. How long it takes you to study isn't a problem unless you make it a problem, or unless it's actually a problem. And again, it's only actually a problem if it's not getting you the desired result that you want in the class. And even then, it's just data. It's just information. You just learned what doesn't work. You just learned how much time you need. And we're going to take that information to plan our week better the next time around, to plan our exams better the next time around, to plan how long we're going to give ourselves to read and to do what we need to do to write this paper the next time around. This isn't a problem unless you make it a problem. And it's so important that you realize this, that the amount of time that you have or don't have, the amount of time that it takes or doesn't take for you to read and write notes, or for you to get through a problem set, or for you to create a stack of flashcards, or for you to revise whatever it is that you need to revise, or for you to work on a project, isn't what is going to determine whether or not you do well in the class. Because that's not what you're being graded on. What you're being graded and tested on is your understanding and your learning of the material. And that takes time. It is normal for it to take time. The brain needs that time to make sense, to create meaning, to create understanding of the material. And what's happening for most students is that you're not accounting for that. You're not normalizing that it takes time to read, and you're not planning for it ahead of time. And because you don't plan for it ahead of time, or you don't learn from the results it is that you get, what happens is you create situations in which you're rushing, or you create situations in which you don't have enough time to get the things it is that you need to get done. But the only reason why that is a problem is because you're not adjusting, because you're not learning from it, because you're not pivoting, because you're not taking that into account, you're not taking that into a consideration. So the first thing that I want to say to wrap up this video is, if you find yourself saying often, this is taking too long, this takes too long, it's going to take too long, the first thing that you need to ask yourself is, why is this actually a problem? Why am I making this a problem? Is it because it's affecting my ability to get the grade it is that I desire? Or is it just because I am making it mean something about myself, or something about my schooling, or something about my ability? Is it a problem just because it surprised me? I thought it was going to take me a shorter period of time. Again, asking yourself this question is what's going to determine whether or not you need to do something about this. So again, if it's affecting your ability to get the grade it is that you desire, then what we need to do is we need to look at how much time you actually need. What we need to do is assess how long it's actually taking you. And instead of beating yourself up and judging yourself or shaming yourself for how long it takes, let's just honor that that's how long it takes you, and let's account for that when you create your plan. Let's account for that when you're setting yourself up to write this paper. Let's account for that when you're creating your exam plan. Let's account for that when you're planning out what you're going to do for the next few weeks. Let's account for that when you're doing your weekly planning. Because if you account for it, it becomes part of the plan and it's no longer a problem. You've handled what the actual problem is. So, if, for example, the problem is that you don't have enough time, so it takes you longer than you thought, and you physically, when you put everything into your calendar, there isn't enough time to get it done, what you need to do is you need to focus on finding a solution for that. Does this mean that you have to start earlier? Does this mean that you need to be more effective? Does this mean that you need to focus on the things that actually create the result it is that you want for this class and eliminate everything else? Does this mean that we need to change the way that you're approaching this? Does this mean that we have to find a different strategy for you? Does this mean that we have to take a look at where there's a a fire truck? Does this mean that we have to take certain things into account? Does this mean that you have to learn a new skill? We have to start asking ourselves these questions. We have to start thinking about these things. This is what helps you to become the type of student that no matter what life throws at you, no matter what circumstances you're in, no matter what happens to you in the semester, you are the type of student who will figure it out. You are the type of student who will make it work for you. You are the type of student who will get the exact result it is that you want. Not because you're special, not because you're smarter than everyone else, but because you take the time to actually think and evaluate and make changes and learn from your outcomes and learn from the things that you are creating. This is what I help students with the most. And if it intrigues you the way that I look at approaching college success, if you are interested in learning how I create study plans, how I think about managing time, how I think about studying for classes, how I make sure, how I went from failing out of over 7 classes to graduating with honors while working full time and starting my academic life coaching company, how I've helped over 500 plus students do this same thing, I want to invite you to come and sign up for the Your Best Semester Yet challenge. In this 5-day challenge that I'm going to be running here on the YouTube channel, completely free, I'm going to be walking you through exactly how to have your best semester yet. And by that, what I mean is you end the semester with the exact grade it is that you wanted, feeling super in control of your time, and so damn proud of yourself because you did the impossible. You navigated tough situations, you worked your way through obstacles, you figured shit out when shit hit the fan, because it always does, and none of it fazed you. You were able to persist, to keep going, to stay consistent, and create the exact grade it is that you desired. If you are interested in signing up for that challenge, you can go to sherocksatcollege.com/your best semester yet, and the link will be updated to the description box. But again, if you are a student who thinks to themselves, this is taking too damn long, the number one question you need to be asking yourself is, why is this even a problem? Is it actually affecting my ability to get the grades it is that I want? Is it affecting my life? If so, what do you need to fix? What do you need to pivot? What do you need to do? What needs to change? If it's not actually affecting your grades and your ability to do well in the class, and it just doesn't match your idea of how long it should be taking you, let it take however long it takes. Normalize how long it takes you to understand, grasp, and learn the information, because that's what you're actually being tested on, not how long it takes you to do it. Thank you so much for watching today's video. My name is Clarissa. I am the life coach for college students. And if you loved today's video, subscribe to the channel, sign up for the Your Best Semester Yet challenge, and I will see you next Tuesday for our weekly live stream. Bye.